Welcome to another episode of In the Nude, a podcast where we talk about the raw, honest truth about healing, even if it's uncomfortable. Today, we're going to talk about unlearning. Oh, unlearning. That's yeah. So much about the healing journey is unlearning. It's unlearning us, covering up who we think we should be, unlearning who we have pretended to be, unlearning the coping mechanisms that we have used to survive, unlearning the things that aren't truly us. It's peeling back the layers of behavior and thought process and communication and even the way that we think about ourselves. I feel like often people feel like they need to change, right? They need to change. They need to become a better version of themselves. The truth I have found in my healing journey is not that you have to become a better version of yourself. What you are is becoming more of a true version of yourself. It's peeling back the husk, if you will. How much of you are you actually exhibiting in your day-to-day life, or how much of you is just a compilation of coping mechanisms? For me, so much of my personality has been a combination of coping mechanisms, a combination of masks that I placed on my face for other people to survive, to make them feel better, to mitigate. I read a book recently called Love Theoretically, and I could not help but identify with the main character who spends almost the entire book constantly adjusting in any moment who she is based on what the other person wants her to be. Anybody else who's ever been a fawn in their life understands that concept. You walk into a room, you see a person interacting, and you know what that person wants from you. And the coping mechanism is to abdicate and hollow yourself out and then become that person. But that isn't a personality. That's a coping mechanism. And that's a part of the husk of healing, is pulling those things back. While it's been extremely helpful in my life to be able to become the people that other people needed me to be, to help me survive, it was never helpful for me on my own. Oh, it helped me survive. That's very, very helpful for me individually. But as an adult now, as a person on my own now, and as a person who's healing, the process of constantly abdicating myself based on other people is no longer helpful for me. And that's a thing that I have to unlearn. It isn't something that is a part of me. I've done it for long enough. It feels like it's a part of me, but it isn't. The only thing that's left as I peel back that coping mechanism is that I have a deep compassion for other people and their pain. That is a part of who I am. But I have to be extremely careful. It's a great gift in my ability to help other people, but it's also a thing I have to be careful with because of my past coping and my tendency to abandon myself. So let's talk about this unlearning. How do you even know how to unlearn? If you're anything like me, trying to figure out who you are past all of the things that you decided to be for other people is overwhelming. One of the best ways I know how to unlearn isn't to try to stop doing bad behavior, but it's to start doing things and then the bad behavior falls off. So let me explain what I mean. So in this process where I didn't know who I am, and I'm still in that process of learning, it became okay, what should I do? Trial and error, these are things that I found were helpful. Despite it being uncomfortable, making time for quiet in my life, whether that's walking outside, taking a hike, whether it's swimming laps, whether it's working out, whether it's sitting in quiet meditation, but leaving space for quiet. And in that space for quiet, observing without judgment my thoughts. Those are things that helped me. Now, those thoughts are scary. Those thoughts sometimes are painful that come up. But being aware of what is the best way to move from what is to growing, to changing, and to becoming more of who we are, right? Something else that I found very helpful is exploring. I didn't know what would help me calm down. So I'd sit there and be like, okay, what feels nice? Right? Does a bath sound like it would be good? Oh, no. Oh, no. And like how my body responded. Sometimes in the beginning, it was really difficult to even get a sense for any of those things. But I still sat and asked. And then I would test case it. I would draw a bath and get in and be like, oh, I don't like it. And if I didn't like it, it didn't matter if I drew a bath. Even if it was a waste, I would get out and drain the tub and do something else. It's being willing to test it, to be a scientist of your own life, to see, is going into a closet in the dark room and hugging myself going to help me calm down? Oh, I didn't like that. I felt abandoned. Okay, let's try something else. It's test casing and playing around with and being able to be able to sit with yourself and look into yourself and see if your body's going to respond to the situation. It's being willing to make the mistakes, to get to a place where you can respond to your body and know, yes, I like this. It takes you practicing it. It takes you getting into yourself. It takes you sitting and being willing to be uncomfortable for a second and be like, can I tell if a bath would feel good? Am I thirsty? Do I want to eat? And seeing how your body responds. So when we want to shed off what isn't us, we start getting curious about ourselves. We start making space because the only way that we can literally take the things off is by allowing ourselves to emerge through, which is not a simple practice for anybody who's like me. Maybe it is for you. And if it is, oh my goodness, I am so excited. My response to you is if you don't struggle with knowing who you are and you know exactly who you are, start adding habits of things you like and want more of. Naturally, the bad habits will fall off, and then your focus becomes not on what you shouldn't be doing, which will cause you to have more of it, but on what you should be doing, right? Or not should, but want to be doing. Let's not say should, okay? Um, but add in behaviors that you like. Add in behaviors that you want to be true. You want to be an active person, start small and add in a tiny thing that will allow you to be an active person. When we start focusing in on tiny, tangible, gracious movements, the things that we don't want naturally fall off. In the same way that if you were wanting to adjust your diet, right, and you're wanting to become more healthy, you don't need to focus on what you're not eating. You need to focus on adding, right? Add a portion of vegetables every day. Add an extra cup of water every day. Naturally, when you add in the whole foods that your body needs, the things that you aren't going to need and don't, they'll fall off. You'll only have so much room to be able to consume food. And the more you eat whole foods, the more full you're going to get. And the more full you're going to get, the less you're going to want the junk food. See what I mean? By you add instead of subtract, your focus, your focus is on what you want instead of what you don't want, you get more of what you want. In that same way, when you're trying to take off the parts that aren't you, you don't need to focus in on the habits and say, oh, that's bad. I did that. That's not me. It's not going to help you. Shame, denigration, breaking yourself down. If it worked, it would have worked by now. So when you want to take off what isn't you and become more you, it isn't about focusing on what isn't you, but it's about focusing on allowing yourself to break through, allowing yourself to add in habits and behaviors that you desire to exist in your world, things that you feel served by. Something for me that I am still working through is I do better. It is self-love for me to get up earlier than my kids. Now, does it feel like self-love when that alarm goes off? No. I am not a morning person. I know. My innate body is like, mornings are not your friend. No, stop. But I know that it is loving to my future self when my kids do get up. If I have gotten up and taken time for myself and I have invested in myself and I have done the things that set me up to feel good, that when my kids wake up, I know that future self, when those kids wake up, that person who's having to deal with them and all the wonderful joys and struggles that it is, that I will have loved that person. Now, do I feel loving to myself when the alarm goes off? Not so much. But love isn't always the thing that comes easy. It isn't the going to the store and buying the shirt, right? It can be, but it also can be knowing that buying that shirt right now is not loving to my future self who wants to be able to not have to stress at the end of the month. It can be that I don't want to take a shower. I don't want to take a shower. It sounds like work and effort. I just want to go to bed. But the loving myself is to get in that shower because I know I'm going to feel more human for having done it, right? All of this to say, when we need to unwind the things that aren't us, the focus isn't on the behaviors we're trying to get rid of. Those are in the rearview mirror. Our focus is on what and who we are and who we want to become. It's getting to know ourselves. It's being willing to invest in the fact that we are our own ride and die. I'm stuck with me literally until my last breath, and then possibly more if you believe in afterlife, right? I am stuck with me. So taking the time to be like, all right, I'm going to be my own best friend. I'm going to learn what I like by making myself take time to figure it out. Do I like chocolate ice cream? Do I actually like it? Like I've eaten it and I've been like, but like take the time. Do I like it or do I like this more? Would I want this? Does that feel good? Taking the time to be willing to explore. You can make it instead of an arduous chore, which is how it started for me, and turn it into a game, turn it into a gift. Like, would you think spending time with your best friend and helping them find things they love be arduous? It isn't for me. That is a like amazing way to be able to love somebody. So when I take the time to think about it that way, I can then turn it back on myself and be like, that's loving for me too. I can do that for myself. That is a gift I can give my future self, even if it's hard, even if it's difficult. So I just want to encourage you in this process of healing and having to unlearn who we have been and learn who we are going to be and learn who we actually are. It doesn't have to be this process of denigrating what we have done or focusing on what we shouldn't do, but owning and embracing and learning how to love and embrace and get to know who we are and start acting in ways that we desire to have more in our life. As always, thank you so much for taking the time and investing in yourself. It's an amazing, difficult, and a journey that proves how strong you are, how much worth you have, that you see it and you're investing in yourself. I am so glad to be a part of this journey with you.